probably by now everyone in the room has heard me talk about this topic enough to know that it is one that is important to me. It was important enough to make it the theme for the last year for the AMVA organization. And it is part of the Driving Towards Zero Deaths, really is part of the Towards Zero Deaths movement in the U.S. Towards Zero Deaths is a vision, it's a goal, it is an initiative of which many, many associations and organizations and people are a part. You will hear about the concept of TZD as one that produces data-driven efforts focused on identifying and creating opportunities for changing the culture for highway safety. Doing for highway safety what has been done for some other things successfully, like smoking, like breast cancer. It's a singular strategy that unites efforts on the part of all those groups, associations, agencies, that we all believe that we're really not done with highway safety until we get to zero, that's the acceptable number. So in a moment, the panel here and I will give an update on the U.S. Towards Zero Deaths initiative, Canada's Road Safety Vision 2015, the Global Road Safety Decade of Action, and some other safety activities that fit nicely in that family. First, I'd like to introduce the panelists that are here with us this afternoon. To my far left, your right, Sandy Spavoni, Executive Director of the National Organizations for Youth Safety. Sandy has worked with youth peer education national programs for the past 12 years, providing young people with tools to take a concern and turn it into action. She has developed national youth leadership training programs to address specific health and safety concerns, and has coordinated national campaigns. In her role with National Organizations for Youth Safety, she launched National Youth Traffic Safety Month. NOYS has been a partner in the Global Decade of Action for Road Safety, and Sandy will start us with an overview of that effort. Then, after Sandy, to my immediate left, between the two of us, is Ian Grossman. Your program does not say that this will be Ian. Your program says that it will be Robert Hull, who is the Director for Safety for the Utah Department of Transportation. He very unexpectedly, very, very last minute, had a work emergency for which he needed to stay in Utah. Rob, as chairman of the U.S. Towards Zero Deaths initiative, was planning to give us an update on those efforts. Fortunately for us, AMVA has been front and center, has been an extremely engaged member of that steering team, specifically President and CEO Neil Schuster and Ian Grossman, our Vice President for Member Services and Public Affairs, have been very, very active in the steering committee, and Ian has graciously agreed to step in, join the panel, and fill in where Robert was planning to inform us. Ian's been with AMVA for 2.5 years now. I think most of you know him by now. Before coming to the organization, he held senior presidentially appointed positions at the Federal Highway Administration and the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. His background also includes time working for the governor of Vermont, and that's where he first learned about AMVA and all of us when he had the opportunity to meet and work for former AMVA board chair Bonnie Rutledge. Following Ian will be Ward Keith, to my immediate right, Chair of the CCMTA Board of Directors and Executive Director, Driver Safety and Regulatory Control for Manitoba Public Insurance. As Executive Director, Ward is responsible for all aspects of driver safety at MPI. This includes the oversight of road safety programming and the corporation's high school driver education program. Ward has also been a very active member of AMVA. He has served multiple years and has provided really distinguished service to the AMVA Board of Directors. He has been on the board with me for the last 3 years, I think, and it's been just delightful and so productive to work with him. Ward will give us an update on Canada's Road Safety Vision 2015. And then, batting cleanup, on my far right is John Kuo, Administrator with Maryland Motor Vehicle Administration. He's been in state service for 29 years, 23 of them in transportation. Prior to his appointment as Administrator in 2006, He served as the agency's Chief Deputy Administrator and Chief Operating Officer from 2003 to 2006. He also served for many years in other key executive management roles at MVA. John recently completed his tenure as president of AMVA Region 1 and hosted a very successful conference in Baltimore, Maryland just last month. I was lucky enough to get to spend a couple of days there, and it was a very, very informative and successful conference. John is also currently serving on AMVA's international board, as well as having served as chair of AMVA's internal fraud work group. Again, both things I'm familiar with and appreciate very, very much. John will address how all of this directly impacts AMVA member agencies and what we can do to play our own part in all of these efforts. So before we get started with the panel, I want to take a moment to recognize one of our International PACE Award winners. We are giving awards throughout the conference this year, and we are making whatever linkages are appropriate to the topics, and we felt that the PACE Award winner in this case is very, very pertinent to this session. In the campaign, Live Free, Ride Alive, the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation crafted a comprehensive motorcycle safety campaign as part of its continuing and aggressive efforts to reduce the number of motorcycle crashes and fatalities on Pennsylvania roadways. The campaign included an interactive website along with printed promotional materials and a documentary which celebrates the freedom of riding but offers a sobering look at the sometimes dangerous pastime. We're going to take a look at this year's International PACE Award-winning campaign, Live Free, Ride Alive.
If you don't ride, you don't understand what it's like to ride.
It's almost like a soul thing. It's part of your body. You don't get it with a car. You don't get it with a horse. It represents freedom.
It's like trying to explain to someone how chocolate tastes. You can't do it.
He said that I'll never be 100% again. I don't have feeling in any of this.
The accident happened about 20 minutes after 6 in the evening. I got a phone call at 6:38, and it was from her phone, but it wasn't her talking to me. That was a difficult day in my life. That was a very difficult day.
A few scrapes, but we always walked away from it. This time he didn't. I did, but he didn't.
And then making funeral arrangements. And then the next day was going to buy a casket. I expected to do that for my mom and dad. I never expected to do it for my child.
Every rider has a story.
I love to ride, man. I love the freedom. I just love to ride.
Check them out at livefreeridealive.com.
You can get on a bike and you change the rest of your life just as fast as it picks up.
livefreeridealive.com from PennDOT.
Great spot.
A lot of dads had different bonds with their children. Some was fishing, some was baseball games. And Eric and I, our bond was motorcycles.
Take rider classes, become a better rider, drive as defensive as you can, don't trust anybody, become the most proficient you can in it, so it's like second nature. There are no such thing as safe motorcycles. Motorcycles are not a safe sport. All you can do is you gotta recognize the risk that you're doing, and you gotta be prepared to, understand the consequences.
Please join me in welcoming Kurt Myers, Deputy Secretary of PennDOT for Safety Administration. He is accepting their 2011 International PACE Award. Congratulations, Kurt. Excuse me. Really well done.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you very much.
It's a really great example of the kind of campaign that shines a light in a way that really reaches the public. Really an important contribution to the Towards Zero Deaths effort. So with that in mind, let's get started on the rest of the session. Sandy?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to first start off by thanking you for this opportunity to present to you on behalf of Dr. Bella Denzar. Many of you probably already know her, and she is definitely the lead in the United States for the topic that I'm going to be talking about. Was unable to be here today, so I get the pleasure of sharing this information with you. And thank AMVA for the opportunity to participate with you on this very important issue of that, but we want to explain a little bit to you about it first if you're not familiar with it. But it's basically a call to action for countries and communities to save lives on the world's roads. It's similar to the Decade to Roll Back Malaria and other public health concerns and efforts to bring attention to the burden of road fatalities on us as a whole globe. So if you look at this, this was the timeline that built us up to this launch. So there was a youth voice at that piece too. It was a very exciting time to see this issue being so addressed by the United Nations. Then in 2009, we had the Commission for the Global Road Safety with the first ministerial conference on road safety. In 2010, the United Nations General Assembly approved the Decade of Action for Road Safety with a goal to reduce road fatalities by 2020. And 100 countries signed on co-sponsoring this. So that was really big to get that many countries around the world to agree on one particular 25 with approximately 34,000 deaths per year in the US. So if you look at this chart, you'll see how that if we don't do anything, that we're leading this up to traffic crashes being #5 worldwide as a cause of death.